Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Getting FUB'd Up with Bridget. I'm your host, Bridget. I'm excited to talk to you guys today, talk about some stages, go through some ins and outs of best use cases, and just make sure everybody kind of realizes the overall importance of stages, because they're really kind of like the skeleton of your follow-up boss system. So if you guys are maintaining your stages and using them well and using them properly, then it just really kind of helps everything else run that much smoother. I am going to post a poll here for everyone, just kind of get some data and information about what the different roles we have who are participating today, so that we can know who we're talking to. Go ahead and launch this. So you guys should see it now. Just please fill that out for us. And that being said, let's start to get FUB'd up, y'all. Go ahead and share here. Alrighty, so stages. If you're an owner, you are the one who is in control of all of the stages and the stage settings. So even admins don't have access to be able to create new stages, edit the stages, change the ordering of the stages. But for those owners that are joining us today, if you go into your admin tab and drop down to more, you'll see stages. And this is kind of where you can also get a bird's eye view. And, essentially, like I said, this is the skeleton of your system. This should be your sales funnel. So whatever process you're going to be taking your leads or sphere people or past clients through, anybody that you're working with, and how you're going to want to funnel them from being a lead to closing out with you. We see a lot of time frame ones. So, starting with lead, you can't do anything. You can see the actions over here, can't edit it, can't delete it. This is a built-in stage within Follow-Up Boss. And, the goal is to get these people out of lead and engage with them and figure out where they fall in your sales funnel. So are they pretty hot? Are they about 1 to 3 months out? Maybe they've got a couple of loose ends that they're trying to tie up, not quite showing them properties yet, but, they're about to get pre-approved and you're about to go. And then warm, people who need a little bit more time. Maybe they've got some credit repair issues. You're cold, you're 6+ months. So these are people, the time frame ones are people who you've engaged with, who you've actually been talking to and communicating with. So you know where they fall in line, but you eventually want to inch them from being cold to warm to hot to an active client. And then your nurtures, these are going to be people that are a little bit more general. Maybe you haven't fully engaged with them yet, but you want to continue to try to reach out to them and to get engagement. And then once somebody's active with you, and then when you're pending and closed, and then a past client. Closed, another one of those that you cannot delete, cannot edit, can't do anything with. It is stuck in Follow-Up Boss. We see a lot of people want to use past client over closed. As a best practice, we typically recommend that somebody is closed is somebody who has very recently closed with you. So within the last month or so, very recently closed. So that way you can kind of make sure that you get everything that you need out to them, make sure that you're following up with them, see how the house is. And then a past client is somebody who you're not going to be needing to as consistently reach out and talk to, but you still want to maintain a relationship with them and be reaching out, seeing how things are going, asking for referrals. Do they have any friends or family? Eventually, the general time frame is about 5 years that somebody's probably going to sell their house again. So as long as you're maintaining that relationship and staying in front of these past clients, when that time comes, you should be the agent that they choose to go to. We've got Dave has his hand raised here. Dave, if you have a question, you can totally go ahead and drop that in the chat and we can address it for you. And then a couple of other general ones. So, you got to have a contact stage because not everybody is going to go through the process with you. Some people are going to be agents outside of your organization. It's very helpful to have vendors in here, different lenders. I mean, even people down to cleaning people and photographers to have into your database so that you don't have to go searching through your phone if something short notice happens. Dave didn't mean to raise his hand. That's okay, Dave. We won't give you a hard time for it. Oh, high five. Love that. And then contact do not market to. So there's people that are going to say, don't ever reach out to me. Don't talk to me again. Or maybe some of those agents that are outside of your organization, you don't want them to get your newsletter and trying to copy things that you're doing. Or maybe you do, and they could just be a contact. It could be a good recruiting tactic as well. And then you've got your trash stage. So trash people is another one that can't be adjusted, can't be changed within Follow Up Boss. It's a permanent stage. And you want to be a little bit weary of putting people into trash. And that's just because if they're in trash, then you don't get notified if they do something again within Follow Up Boss, if there's new property inquiries or anything like that. But if somebody is clearly solicitation or spam or sending you junk mail, anything like that, that's definitely going to be trash. If their phone number and their email are both bad, you obviously can't talk to that person. There's no way to get a hold of them. So that would be trash. And sometimes there's just some nasty people out there in the world. We've all seen it. It's the unfortunate truth. And if they're a trash person that you could never see yourself working with, and that nobody on your team would enjoy working with, probably fair to go ahead and put them in the trash. But definitely want to steer clear. If it's just somebody maybe you didn't vibe with, or you weren't having, the best sort of follow up and it just wasn't really working out, we like to use this fish stage. And that's when they go into the fish stage, they go into the pond. So it's a little bit of a play on words there. And once they're in the pond, they're opened up to the database so that other agents can prospect that person too. So, all right, things didn't work out with, Joe Schmo, but that's okay. Maybe Chris or somebody else on your team would have a better experience or have an easier time trying to convert that person. So instead of putting them into the trash where they're hidden, they actually get opened up to the database. And then once the owner is in here, you can drag and drop these and place them in which order makes the most sense for how you want your funnel to go. Generally speaking, you want to start with the leads and then funnel your way down to closed and past client. And also, stages are so important, especially if you guys are actively using these smart lists as you should be. So stages really are designed to be funneling your smart list so that you know who to be talking to. Those hot 1 to 3 month people, you're going to be wanting to talk to them a lot more consistently than you're talking to your cold 6+ or your nurtures. So if you have everything aligned up properly and you're creating your smart list based off of this, like you can kind of see here, we've got a hot 2 times a week. So if they're in hot 1 to 3 months and the last communication's more than 3 days ago, they're going to continue to live on this list. So if you're staying consistent with keeping your stages up to date with all of your contacts and all of your different leads, then all of your smart lists are just going to be stupid easy for you to go through and to be working through every single day. And that being said, also different sorts of automations and action plans that you guys have going on. If a stage changes to nurture, then you're going to want them to go on a nurture plan. Agents aren't going to remember to go in and automatically put on a nurture plan every single time they change it. But fun little tip and trick in Follow Up Boss is with these automations and stuff, you can have it go out automatically. So stage changes are just so important. We see people abuse stages all of the time. Having too many is going to make things cluttered. The agents aren't going to know what to do. They're going to be confused. Having things completely simple and straight to the point is going to be the best use case. And you're going to actually see your agents within Follow Up Boss, or as an agent, you probably are sitting here shaking your head. Yes, the simpler, the better. I know where things go. Just want to keep it completely streamlined all of the time. And also having some sort of written documentation for your stages. If your team leader or your team owner hasn't done this for you as an agent, and you think that it would just be something beneficial to have printed out, post it, put it next to your desk so that there's no confusion. We do this for all the teams that work with us when we do all of our build outs. So we create a Follow Boss cheat sheet. We've got the stages. We have all of the definitions so that there's really no questions asked. People love to make excuses all the time. If they have it right there, there's not going to be any excuses as to who should go where or why. Stages and tags. A lot of times we see too many stages in people's database because they're using them in a way that should actually be a tag. So for instance, if you have a buyer stage and a seller stage, that's fine, but they can only live in one stage at a time. So if they're in the buyer stage as a whole general stage, what does that person mean to you? Are you nurturing that buyer? Are they hot? Are they an active buyer with you? Are they pending with you? If you just simply use a tag to use as the definition of who that person is and the stage as the sales funnel, you can see here, you're going to be able to keep that much more track of your people. And it's going to save you from having a separate seller hot, buyer hot, seller nurture, buyer nurture. Why do the work twice when you can just have it as a tag and keep the stages streamlined for themselves? Even having the tags, you're still able to come in and use your filtering system for the criteria. So if we go back to our all people here, you wanted to come in and see all the people in your stage that is hot. And all the people who are buyers. So there you go. You can still streamline and see who's a buyer. And then in, same situation here if you wanted to see your sellers. And that being said, not everybody is just a buyer or just a seller. Some people want to sell their house before they buy another property. So they're both. So then in that situation, where would you put them? Would they go in the buyer stage? Would they go in the seller stage? They don't have to go anywhere. They can have the tags and they can be in just the one hot or active stage instead. Checking on the chat, making sure I'm not missing any questions from you guys. So Andrew's got an interesting question about the fish stage that I mentioned for people going into the pond. It can be a couple of different things. So fish, we typically will do like a general go fishing pond. There's a lot of teams that we see who will have more specific ponds based off of what type of fish they are. So if it's like a renter fish, they go to the fish stage, they have a renter tag, they'd go into that renter pond. Or maybe, somebody that you referred out for a referral or anything like that. You'd be able to have a referred tag, put them in fish, keep them kind of off of your radar, because the people that are assigned to you that aren't in a pond, that's who you want to focus on. If it's a fish person who you don't want to take all of your energy and spending trying to prospect them because you know that there's other people in your database that are more willing to engage with you, you don't necessarily want them on your radar. But don't you worry, we're definitely going to be having a webinar about ponds, and we will get into all the good fun details of ponds in the next couple of months here. Now that we've talked about kind of some general stages, let's talk a little bit about Zillow and Zillow stages. So if any of you guys have the Zillow two-way sync turned on, you will notice that you have your Zillow stages. So they're definitely going to be looking a little bit different from the standard timeframe ones. They're still very streamlined as far as you've got appointment set, appointment met, showing properties, met with customer, really streamlined and really straight to the point for you, and it syncs back with your Zillow. So if you have that sync turned on, when you look at your stages, it's going, we don't have them in this account, unfortunately. This is just kind of like a dummy account, but you would see a little Zillow icon right next to each stage. And that's to let you guys know that it's synced with your Zillow two-way. And if it is synced with Zillow, you can only use the Zillow stages. So if you have like a fun fish stage for your pond people or something like that, unfortunately, because of that sync, you can only live in those Zillow stages. But another great reason why tags come into play. You'd be able to tag them as a fish and get them into the pond in a different way. But with that two-way sync, it's, you do something in Follow Up Boss, it's going to communicate it with Zillow. You do something in Zillow, it's going to communicate it with Follow Up Boss. Especially if you've got a team who's really, really high level with the Zillow Premier Agent or Zillow Flex program. If you've had agents that have been around for a while, that have been around before Follow Up Boss, sometimes maybe they just want to work out of Zillow. They're not completely bought and sold on Follow Up Boss, which is a travesty because Follow Up Boss is the greatest in the world. We all know it. But at the same time, all of the information that they're doing in Zillow can still be translated into Follow Up Boss once you finally hook them and you get them on board the FUB train. But until then, if you have them working in Zillow, it'll be in here. And then likewise, if you have really high level Follow Up Boss users and you want to make sure that you're getting all of your points and all of your updates and everything hit for your Zillow Flex status, as long as they're working in Follow Up Boss and doing what they need to do, you guys are going to hit your goals every single month. Check my notes. So changing stages, obviously, if you go into your cards here, your main lead card, this is where you can change your stages as far as where that lead is in the process with you. So if you've got somebody who starts out in the cold stage, and as you start engaging with them, start talking to them, you're getting a little bit more, oops, we got to see, look, this is a stage change automation. Little action right here. If you don't do anything, they're going to be reassigned. That can be an accountability measure. So lots of different triggers that you can do simply with just a stage change, which is also why it's so important. I know sounds like I keep saying it, to be staying up to date and changing your stages. And it is because it is super important. Keeping things organized, keeping things streamlined, knowing where your people are at all times. So we've got them in cold. David's heating up. He's getting a little bit closer. We're getting a little bit warmer. Now we're in warm. All right. Look, we've got another automation keeping accountability here. David is finally warmed up. His credit is great. We're moving along. We're going on. We're sending him off to a lender. We're getting hotter. Now we've got him in hot. And you definitely need to make sure that you are clicking this green check mark. Sounds really silly, excuse me. Sounds like, okay, yeah, no duh, obviously. But I live in Follow Up Boss all of the time, and I can't tell you how often I even forget about my green check mark. If you don't click it, it will not save. So if you are going through your hots and you're like, what the heck? Like, I put David in hot earlier this week. Why isn't he coming up with all of my hot people as I'm searching them? You probably forgot the check mark, and that's okay. But try to remember to do it. And also, once you go, if you realize your mistake, you can obviously go back and fix it. But if I were to have leave this screen and not click the check mark, then David would not be saved. So definitely want to pay attention, make sure that you're doing it. And unfortunately, the way that you see stages is going to be through the lead card, just like that, or when you're searching with your filters over here on the right. So you can do search, stage, include, and this will kind of show you exactly all the different stages that you're working with. If you wanted to take some time to jot them down for yourself, maybe make one of those fun little cheat sheets. But as an agent or admin user, you do not get the same view this way as the owners do. So if you want to know your stages, I would just recommend going to your filters and searching the different criteria. Let's check our questions. Let's see. Trisha says, can admins edit stages and tags, or is that the account owner only? I think we have the stages set up as a seller hot 1 to 3. If we want to drop the seller as you recommended, was just wondering who has rights to change that. So yes, it's only going to be the owners. No admins or anything like that. I think that's kind of like a too many cooks in the kitchen type of mindset with Unfollow Up Boss. If there were too many admins that had access to be able to change around stages and stuff, things can get a little bit messy. So they just limit it to one user being the owner able to go in and change those. So I would recommend talking to the owner, whoever has the owner account, or maybe if they're willing to give you access to the account. But it's definitely a discussion worth having too. And if you guys have high level agents who are really rocking it in Follow Up Boss, ask these guys their opinion on things. You know, as admins and as team leads, you can only put so many bones and so many good, what you think are best practices into play. But your agents who are living and breathing and actually working in Follow Up Boss on the day to day, there's probably a whole bunch of really good ideas that you can find from them too. I mean, we hear things all the time when we do team trainings with a lot of our clients, and I'm like, wow, this agent really knows what they're talking about. So I would definitely get it out there, get it in the open, see if people have suggestions, and get them implemented, but update your cheat sheet when you do it. So that being said, if I'm definitely happy to answer any more questions. I don't think, there's only so much we can go into on stages, but I just really wanted to drive home the fact to everybody about how important staging is. And I wanted it to be its own little special webinar, because sometimes we'll do a little combo of stages with this and with that. But like I said, this is the engine to your whole entire Follow Up Boss. So if you're maintaining the engine and tweaking it and keeping it tuned up, then it's just going to help the whole entire system, or that whole entire car, run so much smoother and better. We've got Chris dropping some links for us down in the bottom. And if any of you guys aren't clients and you guys, found our webinar and social media, thank you for joining us. Or we also do Follow Up Boss projects. So we will help you build out a custom Follow Up Boss for you, for your team. We worked with everything from solo agents to teams of hundreds of agents to mortgage businesses. You name it, we've probably had our hands in it in some sort of way. You can fill out a free assessment and send us your information, and we will go in, do an audit of your system, rank you on a little scorecard on kind of telling you maybe where you might be dropping the ball a little bit, where things could be improved, and we'll kind of let you know where you're standing up against a whole bunch of other accounts that we see regularly all of the time. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm sure Chris has dropped the link for you. Happy to work with you guys, happy to put an extra set of eyes on your guys' account, and potentially maybe help you build the best system for your team. And I think we're going to maybe send you guys some sort of cheat sheet type template. This has been recorded. We will send out the recording to everybody, whether you could or could not make it. It'll also be on YouTube for you to view at your pleasure. And I think I've about got it all there for you guys. Happy to talk more FUB with you guys as well. If you guys have any questions or interested in a little bit more information about the assessments and stuff, you can also reach us at help@amplifiedsolutions.com, and we're happy to talk FUB with you. So it's been a pleasure, guys, and I'll see you guys next month. we'll talk more FUB, and excited to just continue getting FUB'd up with you guys.